Hello and welcome to the Property Talk podcast from RWinvest, bringing you tips and advice on all things property investment.
Perfect. We're going to get started on the location. So Liverpool as a whole and what it is and why it's important by selecting the correct location when looking for your next buy-to-let purchase.
It really is important. I think when you're making an emotional purchase, so when you're looking for somewhere to live for yourself, for your family, your own hobbies, etc., it's much more of an emotional purchase. But when you're looking to buy to invest, there's so many more factors that you may not have thought of that come into it. So as it's an investment, it's obvious. High rental yields, avoiding as many void periods as possible, so minimal void periods. And obviously you're going to want that capital growth over time.
Of course.
So because Liverpool is what it is now, for reasons that we'll go into as the podcast goes on, these points will be explained and advice given as we go on to the podcast.
In terms of the location when you are looking at buy-to-let purchases, now for me, I think it's all about timing. There's every different city has the potential to have good investment in buy-to-let, off-plan, student, residential.
Absolutely.
There's potential in every city, but for me, to maximise that potential and get the most out of your investment, it's all about timing. Liverpool city at the moment, it's got so much regeneration, so much history, population, everything that supports everything that you need that's going to make it a good investment. Generally as a city, the population of Liverpool, the city centre, 75% of the Liverpool city centre population.
It's a young one, isn't it?
It consists of between 18 and 29 years old. So 75% of the city centre population is between 18 and 29 years old. And when you're investing, your first question to any investment company is, what's my target audience? And that is your target audience. The ideal tenant is a young professional, earning money, but yet they want to live in the city centre where they can walk to work, go to the local bars, restaurants. So
it's all about the graphics. Like you say, Liverpool it's a relatively small city centre, so part of our own due diligence is to actually concentrate on the areas that do have that target tenant demographic, the regeneration areas around, to maximise as much as we possibly can on that investment. I say void periods. The young, that age demographic that you've just spoken about, it is so important to them to be able to walk to their social life, to walk to work, like you've just said. It's what makes it the whole package. And for them to come into a brand new apartment, you know, all the mod cons, the facilities and amenities, somewhere where they're proud to live as well. It's everything good.
Well, that's it. I think a lot of it these days, I fall into that category personally, and a lot of it is to live somewhere that's fashionable. You want somewhere you can show off to your friends, to your girlfriend, things like this. You want places to be able to show off.
Like a badge of honour.
Exactly. You want the best amenities, you want the best location. Look what you can see out of this window, you want the floor to ceiling. And it is important to look at that when you are looking to invest, because these are going to be your tenants. Location is key.
And they're always going to be in the best location for that particular target tenant.
Exactly. When looking at student investment location, a really important thing for me is if you can walk to that university, or at least the closest university in under 10 minutes, the likeliness is that university is going to be there in 15 years. Universities tend not to move.
Well, Liverpool, they've been there hundreds of years.
And it probably will be there for the next 100 years. So if you can get somewhere that's within walking distance of that university, the likeliness is it's going to be a future-proof investment.
And some good bars for the students.
Well, exactly.
Got to have them bars.
We'll leave that up to the other people. But if you can walk to the university in less than 10 minutes, the chances are it's going to be... exactly. You're minimising your void period, which is what you touched on earlier.
Yeah.
In terms of what you consider to be the best type of investments, where would you start?
To me, off-plan is a great way to invest your money. You're not going to have that immediate gratification. You do have to think of your end game, think of your long game. What are you going to end up with? How is that going to work for you? What is the sustainability of that? So I think investors sometimes think, well, you know, I'm putting my money into this investment on off-plan, but I'm not going to see anything. Of course you are. You're going to get the capital appreciation throughout the duration of that build. So I'm sure you or I will go into the figures later on about what the actual percentage of growth is in Liverpool. if you're investing in the absolute right city, it's going to start working for you right away, even if it is a little bit behind the scenes.
Exactly, and the equity you make will more than likely double what you'd actually get in a year's rent anyway, if you're investing right. I think in terms of whether it's student, residential, off-plan, I just think it all depends on the strategy of the investor.
Yeah, exactly.
For someone like myself who's looking to build a portfolio, I've just recently bought my first off-plan. So for me, I think
Congratulations.
I think off-plan, it accelerates my timeline. So by buying off-plan, I know for a fact that the off-plan I bought is going to bring me some equity upon completion. If I bought something completed right now, for me, it'll take me double the time before I can get the next property and the next property and the next property. If someone says to me and says, look, Adam, I want to buy something that's ready now, it's a pension plan, then obviously it's different. And I think it differs to the investor. But for someone looking to build a portfolio, still working and could live off their wage, and looking to make capital appreciation and use that money to then go on to the next one and vice versa, I think personally off-plan's the best route right now.
I completely agree. Student accommodation, I think a lot of investors don't even consider it, but it is actually, I think the last 5 years it was probably the highest performing property asset class
Definitely.
the UK. Again, very, very low entry prices, highest possible returns. So your returns, your capital growth in student, it's kind of a flip side to residential. So your capital appreciation in student might not be as strong as it is in residential. They are smaller units at the end of the day, whether they be en suites or studios. With residential, your yield might be a little bit less, but your capital growth is always going to be stronger. So they kind of meet in the middle a little bit, always very, very high yielding. Void periods, actually, because you look at the terms of how the universities work, your void periods are actually minimised a lot because they're going to stay according to the terms, and the likelihood is if you get yourself a brilliant student accommodation, your students are there for 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. And normally what you do find with the void periods, they talk to the friends, and then if the friends are in a better location than them, and
come and live in mine, it's great.
Exactly, and it just goes back to the location. When you are looking at student accommodation, it's essential. The yield, location, yeah.
I know some student accommodations that are quite far outside the city, so they have to get there is a transportation infrastructure, but like you've touched on before, to be walkable. So as soon as these people start meeting at university and they go, I've got this great city centre, student accommodation, I'm paying the same as what you are, come on over. And we concentrate only on the best anyway.
Well, that's it. And touching on the sort of capital appreciation and sort of the lack of it in the student market is that there's a very good reason. Most student accommodations are unmortgageable, so you have to pay cash. Now, there's a cap to this. Now, you're not going to find someone who's going to want to pay more than £130,000 cash for a student, for student accommodation, although the rental yields are high. You know that it's the likeliness is it's not going to sort of raise £20,000-30,000 within 2 to 3 years, irrelevant of what the city's actually doing. When you are investing in student investment, it's a safe investment. You're going to pretty much guarantee high yields for however long you want that student property, and whoever buys it off you is going to be getting the exact same deal.
I think the exit strategy is strong, and providing that you can, you do have the rental assurance periods, which, let's be honest, it's not a true reflection of the market because they are assured rentals. So what I always say to my investors is, sure, keep your rental assurance period. You're the first owner. That's your benefit. That's your benefit of buying off plan. Keep it for another year or two. Present some independent financial books to the incoming investor. You can say, look, yeah, of course I had the rental assurance period, but look what it's done for these 2 years. It's a solid investment. Even if they end up, which will never be the case, this is just worst case, even if they end up selling it at the same price as what they purchased it at, it's still an absolutely fantastic income generator at the end of the day. And going back to areas like Liverpool, I think that even if people don't know anything about the Liverpool market, students do flock here.
It is the place to invest right now. If you look at the student market, you've got 70,000 students that live in the city. If you look at the residential and the off-plan, you've got to take into consideration what's going on in the city. So there's £14 billion being regenerated throughout it. Peel Holdings have just got the largest ever planning permission that's been granted in the UK.
Yeah.
Right across the Liverpool waterfront.
That's like 5.5 billion or something.
Exactly,
6 billion, yeah.
exactly, and that's a 15-year plan. So that's 15 years
Straight
worth
away.
of contracts,
Yeah, straight
just
away.
with one company.
Yeah.
And the idea is actually to make Liverpool the best waterfront in the world. The architect and designer who designed Toronto waterfront and the Shanghai one, I believe, is basically taking head control
It's
of
like
this.
60 hectares, I think it is. So it's going to be like commercial, leisure,
Residential, everything from
literally the lot.
off-plan. So right now is the place to invest in Liverpool.
And when you're adding on to what Liverpool's got already, you know, the city already has huge amounts of culture. It's got massive amounts of character already in the city, and to add even before the regeneration started.
If you look at the top 25 performing yields throughout the country right now, 12 of them are in Liverpool. L1 is top of the whole country. So it's the highest performing postcode in the whole of the country right now. That's before the regeneration. That's why so many people are wanting to invest in Liverpool right now, is because it's still cheap.
You mentioned Peel Group before. Peel are the ones that are mainly responsible for that regeneration. It's not like Peel Group is new on the scene. Why did the Manchester market evolve so quickly? Who were one of the main game players in Manchester? It was Peel.
Exactly.
Keys, Media City, the Trafford Centre. They've already been to Liverpool, a little bit under the radar really, but they've already built the Superport.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was pushed forward by Brexit as well. A lot of people think Brexit.
They're doing phase 2 now.
Yeah, well, they look at us having a negative effect on the country, but in terms of Liverpool, it's been nothing positive.
It's crazy. I mean, Liverpool. We all know that Liverpool was built on import-export hundreds of years ago. That's why Liverpool is a maritime city. That's why it holds. That's why it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, because of the maritime past. But the way shipping evolves, like everything else, the actual Liverpool, the river, the estuary could not hold all of this, the new modern shipping traffic. So now with the Superport being built just outside, it can now accommodate over 95% of the world's shipping traffic, 75,000 tonnes worth of container shipping.
Well, I think after
the infrastructure's already there.
Yeah, it's already done. It just needs touching up, making it a little bit more modern.
Paint.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think once the Brexit deal signed on the 31st of January, this will all start coming out publicly. Liverpool will basically
contracts have been stealthily coming in for all the import.
I think Liverpool will basically become once again the import and export hub for the whole of the UK. So anything travelling from overseas, America, China, Midland Europe, they're all going to come through Liverpool. And something what else is being talked about that, it's going to be a free port, so they can actually stop the ships tax-free, which is massive for tourism. Huge. It's massive for the city.
It's ideally located. I mean, if you look where Liverpool is geographically, it's always been the shipping route to the New World, which was America. So we've got that transatlantic route already, and I think this is where it's all going to pick up. Liverpool's vibrant city centre is it with all the exciting plans in property, commerce, lifestyle developments, so many new businesses, concepts being established around the city. The demand for not only, of course, affordable investments, affordable housing is always going to be. There's always going to be a massive demand for that, but it's also the luxury side as well.
Definitely.
People do know about Liverpool. They know about the culture. They know about the music in the 60s. They know about the heritage that we have of the theatres. You've got the Everyman. You've got the Royal Court. You've got the Empire. You've got Epstein Theatre. There's so much going on in the city, and with all of this new stuff being built around it.
More importantly, you've got 2 Premier League football teams.
Here we go. Here we go.
It's relevant because you've got 2 Premier League football teams, both sell out the stadiums week in, week out. You're looking at sort of 100,000 people which attend the match over the course of 1 week.
That's the economy, yeah.
It does, and you have people flying in to watch the match. It builds and builds and builds. Everton are building a new stadium on Bramley Moor Dock. If everything goes ahead with the plan permission.
You're proud to be a Blue, Adam?
I'm a red, Esther. Of course, had to give them some sort of positive impact for the season that they haven't. So, but no, it's all relevant to the property market. These things, they boost economies.
Certainly do. I think one of Liverpool's main economy is tourism, and I think you can even add that to away red and blue supporters, that add into that economy.
But it does, even around obviously the bars, the local bars, restaurants, pubs, they all feel the impact. But more importantly, the property markets, the likes of Everton's new football ground, there's going to be a new train station being built. Stations, St James's Station in the Baltic Triangle, again. So the Baltic Triangle, I'm sure everyone sort of heard of by now. It was voted the coolest place to live in Britain last year. And it's a main focal point of Liverpool investment.
Who gave us
right
that
now.
title?
It was the Times. Actually, it was a vote
excellent.
by the Times readers. But yeah, basically, it's a focal point of Liverpool investment right now. The history of Liverpool is built into the Baltic Triangle. It hasn't went with all this new modern type theme, what a lot of bars and restaurants go for, but it's kept a sort of old red brick. You sit down on a bench, there's this sort of all different foods from around the world, bars, then you've got the likes of the Peaky Blinders bar, which is
incidentally filmed in Liverpool.
Yeah, again, all these things which just inherit the Liverpool vibe. But
the Baltic was it was all like the maritime and previously disused warehouses, wasn't it? And now it's like home to designers, artisan bakers, underground clubs, lots of cool bars and restaurants, like you just said, eateries, and there's a £2 million fusion Chinese restaurant going into Keynes shortly. Seriously good Sunday dinners.
Yeah, fantastic.
And a bowl of scouse. But yeah, it's a fantastic area, the Baltic Triangle. Like you were saying about the train stations, just then there was St James's. I think it was closed in... Never reopened actually after the First World War, 1917, wasn't it?
1917, yeah.
So the plans are now, I think it's taken about 3 or 4 years to actually get.
Plans have been approved now, haven't they? So that's good. Again, that's something that's going to inflate property prices in that area.
10%, you reckon?
That's on average across the country.
Yeah,
If a train station is opened, it's normally increases prices by around 10%. The Baltic Triangle is already increasing anyway because of the hype and the vibe that's going on there, but
it's an amazing place.
That's just adding to it, and all within 2 minutes walk to the waterfront. You can walk into the famous Albert Dock, the Echo Arena, everything. And for those of you who don't know Liverpool very well, Liverpool can't really expand in what it needs to, west or east. West because the river's there, and east because of the natural green areas that we just can't build on.
And the Knowledge Quarter, the universities.
Exactly. It's got Liverpool's the second most graded
the most grade 2 listed buildings outside
London. Yeah,
which is why a lot of filming takes place. Again, The Crown, Peaky Blinders, all of these.
Harry Potter, Fast and Furious, there's loads,
Fast and Furious.
So the Liverpool, to get with this expansion, the Liverpool city centre is expanding south and north. North towards the docks, as we've just mentioned, and
where the Liverpool Water's regeneration.
The Liverpool Water's regeneration, and then south towards the Baltic Triangle.
But it's going to stop at the Baltic, isn't it? Though it's not going to go much further south because that is.
You can't at the moment, but again, it's something that is needed, I think, in terms of there's just not enough places to live right now in Liverpool. So the more the merrier at this moment in time. So obviously in the south side you've got the Baltic Triangle, and residential in the Baltic Triangle right now it's flying off the shelves. We've sold out pretty much everything we've got there in record time, and each one just seems to be beating the next, simply because you've got that digital sector. You've got, I think, is it 2,500 employees who work in the Baltic.
Over 500 startup businesses, I think.
In the Baltic digital sector, and they all want to walk to work. they literally do. The type of people they are. They want to walk to work. They take the laptops. They've got to carry stuff. They don't want to be walking 5-10 minutes, getting on the train with laptops, bags, all this technical equipment that they've got to carry. It's ideal for them to just be walking straight into work.
And it's a huge amount of workers and tenants and startup businesses, but when you look at what also is, there's a lot of money already been invested in the Baltic Triangle, and there's a lot in play now. But again, looking forward, there's still another £600 million earmarked.
There's still a lot of space for it to go as well, because obviously you've still got some of the old warehouses which are there, which is great now because it adds to that sort of vibe. Opportunities will arise. And then on the north side of the city centre, you've got the Knowledge Quarter. The students.
That's a great place to invest as well for different reasons. It's what we were saying at the very beginning about putting, and I say a lot that if you picked up one of our properties in the Baltic Triangle and put it up by the Knowledge Quarter and vice versa, it wouldn't work.
Exactly.
You've got to build for the demand in the area.
The Knowledge Quarter right now, with the 70,000 students, again, there's not enough place for them to live. You find them living in houses sort of eight miles away, sharing a house with 3 or 4 of them in, all sharing a room, paying the same rent as them ones paying for a studio. They can walk into the university. They've got a gym downstairs, and it went like that when I went to university, to be honest, but I wish it was. Like I say, it's all relevant, and timing, location,
entry prices,
and yields. I think they're what you've got to
really
focus on.
We've been you know, investors might not know how long Liverpool has actually been on investors' radar, and I really do think, I mean, me and you, we're used to what is happening in Liverpool now. It still comes as a surprise to some investors how hot it actually is, but I'm a firm believer now what we've accomplished over the last 2 years, and how many investors we've actually put into Liverpool, and how many thousands of happy investors with the completed projects, the projects that we've handed over that are 100% tenanted. I think now for the first 6 months of 2020 and leading into the end of the year is literally about striking while the iron's hot, because the prices are going to start rising.
Yeah, absolutely. Very soon. And I think
in fact, some of them already have.
Yeah, phase by phase. But I think more importantly, it's going to happen relatively soon, like you said. And the quicker you get in, the more money you make. And that's especially with off plan. The sooner you buy, the more money you make, and that's unfortunately how it works. And there will be another city. What that will be in the next 5 years is,
who knows?
We don't know just yet.
Who knew it was going to be Liverpool 10 years ago?
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for listening to the Property Talk podcast. I'm Esther.
And I'm Adam.
And if you'd like to get in touch with us to discuss any of our latest property investments, all of our details will be in the description below.
Have a nice day.